Okay, Chaver, we'll get started. We are holding in Torah Chaf Beis, pretty far on in section 10, which is extremely long. In the English version here, we're on page 374, and this whole section is like 60 pages long. Long Torah, a lot of interesting stuff here. So, B'nai Hashem, we'll see some beautiful stuff. We had last time this beautiful, awesome idea. You're going to have to give me a few minutes to get our bearings, to talk about where we're holding, so we can throw that idea in and then continue forward today. So the main thing that we've been discussing in this Torah is this concept that we need to be able to receive from the tzaddikim guidance and advice, and in order to do that, we have to have strong emunah on our side. Emunah in Hashem and emunah in ourselves and emunah in the tzaddikim. Okay, important. And in order to do that, we have to go through some steps. We have to have tremendous azus to kedusha, brazenness of kedusha. We got to be stubborn and sometimes have chutzpah to continue and to keep following this path that the tzaddikim lay out for us, that Rabbi Nachman lays out for us, even in the face of those that stand up and against us. Whether it's friends, family, people, countrymen, Romans, friends, Romans, countrymen, whatever it is. Whether it's false tzaddikim, those people out there who are, like in The Lost Princess, the people carrying the trees, who tell us that what you're doing is silly, what you're doing is stupid, looking out for such a holy connection and spirituality and deep things. You don't know what you're doing, right? Whatever these people are, it takes tremendous azus to kedusha, holy stubbornness and brazenness to stick to our guns and stick to our path, and connecting to the Torah of the tzaddikim and through that to Hashem. And in order to be able to have that azus, we have to have our powerful voice, right? We said that the main channel for azus is our voice. Interesting, I heard in a shir from Reb Nosson Maimon that he was saying that the voice really is it's obvious, we've said it many times, but that the voice is the thing that links our guf and our neshama, our body and soul. It's the thing that, remember we call it's malchus peh, it's the thing that reveals our inner nature to the world that we're in. So we have to use our voice with power, with koyach, with strength, right? And in order to have this brazenness, this azus, we have to have simcha. Remember this? We have to have simcha. And then Rabbi Nachman said the ikar simcha is through the concept of nasev and nishma. Nasev and nishma. Nasev and nishma has a simple meaning, which is that we first will hear, we want the Torah Hashem, and then we'll understand it later. We're moving first. We're taking whatever Hashem has to give with us, even though we don't understand it. But on a deeper level, this concept of Nasav and Nishma refers to our constant rising in our closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Our constant rising in our closeness to the realm of true spiritual connection to Hashem and to ourselves. Right? And so Naseh is always the level we're at, the revealed world. And Nishma is the level that we can't get yet. It's still hidden from us. It's not in our hands yet. It's the next level, which we're not quite there yet, that we don't understand. And it keeps going and going and going and going, and we can keep going higher and higher and higher. When we take that thing that's slightly beyond us, and we draw it into ourselves, that raises us up to a new level. Now we have a new makif, a new nishma that we can't quite grasp, and because we've internalized the previous level. And we keep going up and up till we get higher up through spiritual worlds and universes, through all the alamas of Asiya, Yitzira, Bria, and Atzilus, all the way up to the top. And then when we get to that point, said Rabbi Nachman, when we're at the highest of the high, then the only thing above that is Ein Sof, is the absolute infinite Ribono Shel Olam in infinity and oneness. Something that we can't quite really grasp or think about or talk about to such an extent, right? But that place is the place of pre-creation, right? That before anything was created, and it was just the Or HaEin Sof, just the light of the infinite in the world. So the idea is that the higher we get, closer we get to that concept of Ein Sof, that concept of the infinite, that concept of pre-creation. And when we get ourselves up to that place of pre-creation, of Ein Sof, that is the place where we are completely mevatel ourselves. We're nothing. It's just the infinite light of Hashem. And we become just a channel for that light. We become sort of part of that. And our essence is kind of / nullified, lost to that absolute oneness. We become part of the oneness. Right? Everybody with me on this? I know this is a little wild. But so we said this beautiful thing. That's the preamble. So this beautiful thing, that there's a statement that we say that if someone needs something and they choose to daven for someone else who needs that same thing, then that person will be answered first. So we said, first of all, wait a second, what does that mean? And then what does it have to do with what we've been talking about? Right? So, and to answer those questions, Rabbi Nachman said such a beautiful, amazing, wonderful, sweet idea. And that is that you have a person who's davening for something. Why are they davening for this thing? Let's use the example of a couple who doesn't have children, or a single person who is looking to get married, and it's not happening. It's been a long time, and it's painful. It's mamish painful. It's very hard for people in such situations. It's mamish. Unless you've been there, you don't know how hard it is and how difficult it is. So this person is in tremendous pain. And what happens when they daven for another person who's experiencing the same thing as them, if they're doing it be'emes for real, is they're being completely selfless. They're putting aside their own pain, and they're saying, this person over here, I feel so much for them that it's more important to me right now that I should pray for them. I'm not gonna worry about myself right now. First of all, it's very sweet. It's very hard. But when a person does that, they're kind of losing themselves. They're kind of nullifying themselves. They're kind of like, to put aside such pain, such a heavy, heavy burden, and just to say, you know what, I'm not thinking about me, I'm thinking about them. It's such a huge gesture and so amazing that it's as if that person is completely nullifying themselves. And by nullifying themselves is getting to that level of pre-creation. That level where everything is nullified before the infinite. Right? So you think, oh, it's really nice. That person prayed for the other person. Right? Remember in our last class, we said that Vered was praying for Sandra? Right? Oh, it's really nice. That person is praying for the other person. This time we're saying that Sandra's praying for Vered. But so Sandra's praying for Vered, right? Very nice, sweet, very good. Shkoyach to you. It is nice, and it is sweet, and it's a beautiful, simple idea. But on the other hand, that simple idea, that simple prayer that person is making is not so simple. And if a person does it with a full heart, for real, with authenticity, a person is sending themselves to the highest possible level, beyond the universe of Atzilus, to pre-creation, absolute oneness with the infinite. That's why such a person's prayers get answered, because they put themselves in such a place. So next time you think of such an idea, and next time you think of your own pain, let's try to implant this within ourselves, to start to feel the pain of other people, and to look to see what we can do for other people who are experiencing such difficulty. And not only is it a nice thing, and like I said before, it's going to make you feel good to think about another person and to help them. It's going to feel great. But also, if you can do it with authenticity, it might take some practice. It's mamash sending you to a very, very high connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's where we finished off last time. Okay? So now we're starting at the bottom of page 374. V'zeh b'chinas av uven. This is an aspect of father and son. So if you remember, at the very beginning of this holy lesson, it says like this. Bereshis bara, this is quoting from the Safed Tzniusa. Bereshis bara. Bereshis is a maimar, is a utterance. Bara is a chatzi maimar, a half utterance. Av uven, father and a son. Sasim v'galia, hidden and revealed. Eden ilah, sasim v'ganiz, the upper Gan Eden, that is hidden and hidden. Eden tata, and lower Gan Eden. That was the statement that started off this Torah. And so now, with everything that we've learned and everything that we've brought together, Rabbi Nachman says now, V'zeh b'chinas av uben. This is the aspect of father and son. Let's see what that means. Maimar v'chatzi maimar. A statement and a half statement. Ki hanase hu b'chinas nigla b'chinas Torah. Okay, we're now going to take nasa v'nishma, and he's going to list all of the words that we said to understand what they mean, to whatever extent we can. Ki hanase. Now the level of nasa, the revealed level. Hu b'chinas nigla, revealed. B'chinas Torah. B'chinas bara, created. That's the maimar. B'chinas ben, son. The half statement and the son. B'chinas Eden tata, lower Gan Eden. B'chinas chachma tata, lower wisdom. B'chinas chatzi maimar, the half statement. That's, all of that is the lower level of nasa. So once again, revealed, Torah, son, lower Gan Eden, lower wisdom, half statement. Keneged hanishma, opposite the nishma. What's the nishma? Should be bereshis, which is not bara, it's bereshis. Maimer hashalem, a complete statement. Chachma ilah, upper wisdom. Eden ilah, upper Gan Eden. Bechinas av, father. Bechinas tefillah, prayer. Bechinas nistar, hidden. Right? These are the two aspects that we're talking about. One above the other. Kichol darga, neged darga shalamalu imenu hu bechinas chatzi maimar. Because every level corresponding to the level that's above it is only a half statement. Kamei ha'av. Simple example. Kishe medaber maimar shalem. Like when a father, picture, for real, like a father and a son who is, I don't know, you could be anywhere from 5 years old, say, to, or 3 years old to probably 40, but let's just say 5 years old to 15 years old, let's say, for example. The father says something over, and he says a whole statement. So it's something of wisdom, right? But when the son says after him, he only says a chatzi maimar, meaning a son is only able to give over parts of the wisdom that he receives from his father. Because the father is older and wiser and has wisdom and knowledge and experience and communication abilities, whatever, all these things. The ben, the son, the little, let's say it's a little 7-year-old boy. He can hear what his father says and he can try to give over, but he's not able to give over the whole thing completely. Just a part. Why? Because he's that lower level compared to the level of his father. In this way. Right? Kol darga neged darga shel malu, all level corresponding to the level above it, he bechinas chatzi maimar. It's only a half statement. And the level above it is considered to be a complete statement. Okay, once again, the higher level that's hidden and not apparent and not easily understood, compared to the lower level, which is internalized and understood, but that lower level is only part compared to what's above it. Everybody with me on that? It's pretty simple, this part. And so too, from level to level. Kichol b'nei adam, v'chayos, v'oivos, utzmachim, v'chol hadavarim shebazeh ha'olam. Every single person, and animals, and birds, fowl, and plants, everything in this world, everything in existence is only a half statement of what it represents above. only a half reality of what it really means above. These things are only a hint to what is going on in the universes above. And so too, from one universe to the next. So too, the whole entire creation, corresponding to pre-creation, this all of the universes, everything that's not just the infinite oneness of Hashem, is lacking, is a half statement, is not the full thing, right? Because the main shleimus is only the main completeness. Everything is only in the infinite. It's only in the Ein Sof. It's only in Hashem. That's where it's Maimar Shalom. That's where it's a complete Maimar. It's an interesting. There's a lot to think about here and a lot to discuss. But Kabbalistically, when we think about these things, let's say Kabbalistically, hashkafically, right? The higher we go up, the more reality exists. And the lower we go down, the more everything is like an illusion. Meaning, we look around the world and everything that we see is what we see. Why? Because we're in the world, the Olam Hazeh that we live in is called Olam from the name of Helam, which means to be hidden. Everything is covered up. Everything's an illusion. Right? So we live in these physical bodies, and we have hands, and we have our whole bodies. We have everything that we have. But why do we have them, and what does it mean? So we know, like the example that we use sometimes is that there's the 10 spheres of Kabbalah, and those 10 spheres correspond to our bodies. So we have Keser above us, then we have Chochmah and Bina, right, and Das, and Chesed and Gevura, and Tiferes, and Netzach, and Hoid, and Yesoid, right? We have all these parts that correspond to our body. And so sometimes we can be tempted to think that, up there, the sphere of Chesed is like a hand, right? Which is it's true, but it's just a little bit backwards, right? It's not that we have the reality of our hand, and through the reality of our hand, we can say that the sphere of Chesed is similar to it. It's backwards. The reality is the sphere of Chesed up there, and as it gets more enclosed and put more levushin, more costumes on it, more levels of hiddenness, to the point where we can exist within the world of free will, we see a hand, but our hand is actually just a mashal, just a representation of reality, which is Chesed, which is the sphere of Chesed. It's like reversed. Do you hear what I'm saying? The reality is upstairs in the Olam Atzilus. Chesed is something amazing, and we can't quite get there to grasp it properly. But Hashem gave us the Torah, and we say that the Torah speaks in the lashon in the language of man, in order so that we have a pathway to understand Hashem. So the Torah says that Hashem took us out of Egypt with Yad Chazaka, with a mighty hand, a strong hand. It was Roa Natuya, and an outstretched arm, right? That means, and so, what do we think? That Hashem reached down and grabbed us and pulled us out? He actually did. It's just in a much greater way that we can't quite see or comprehend. So Hashem uses the words of the guidebook, the diagram that He gave us to understand Him, which is our hands, which is our body, right? But the farther down we go, it's more illusion, more covering up, more hiddenness, right? And everything above is reality, is complete, is the way it's really supposed to be, is true, complete knowledge. So that's why down here, whenever we're on a lower level, it's only half of the story. We only have this crude diagram of what reality really is. So here it's a half statement. Here it's hidden. Here it's ben, not av, right? It's the son. It's the statement of the son rather than the statement of the father, and all of these things. This is what he's saying over here. So Avu Ben are a certain representation of this. Let's see where it goes. V'zeh bara shu klalias abriya. So bara, Bereshis and bara. Bereshis is the whole statement of the higher level, and bara, created. Bereshis is in the beginning. Bara is created. Bara, that word, it's part of the letters of the word Bereshis. Bereshis, bara. It's Bereshis and bara. It's like the three letters from that word. Shu klalias abriya, which is the whole entire creation. Chatzi maimar neged Bereshis. It's only a half statement of creation, right? Of Bereshis, which the first three letters of the words Bereshis are Beis Reish Aleph Bara. Shu b'chinas koydem abriya, because Bereshis is referring to pre-creation, the time of absolute infinite oneness of Hashem. B'chinas tefillah, which is the aspect of tefillah, not Torah. Kamo Bereshis. So like we see in the Tikkunei Zohar. Tikkunei Zohar, by the way, is a sefer that Rabbi Nachman held is the highest of the books of the Zohar. You have the Zohar HaKadosh and you have the Tikkunei Zohar. Rabbi Nachman held that the Tikkunei Zohar is very much higher. The Tikkunei Zohar takes the word Bereshis and gives, if I'm not mistaken, and I haven't learned the whole entire thing, 70 different interpretations of the word Bereshis. That's what it is, and different ways that the letters can be rearranged. So one of the ways that the Tikkunei Zohar portrays the word Bereshis, look at the letters of the word Bereshis, Beis Reish Aleph Shin Yud Saf, is Yare Boishes. Yare means fear, to fear, and Boishes means to be embarrassed, embarrassment. Shehi, this concept of Yare, fear and embarrassment, is tefillah. Bechinas Yiras Hashem hi tishalal, like we say, Yiras Hashem hi tishalal in what's it called? Yiras Isha Yiras Hashem, yeah, Eishes Chayil, thank you. Eishes Chayil. Yiras Hashem hi tishalal. So tehillah is a word for prayer, for tefillah, and Yiras Hashem is prayer. Shu Maimar Hashalim, which is a complete statement. What does this mean? Why is Yare Boishes? Why is fear and embarrassment tefillah? Basically, just on a simple level. Now we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects recently. I know Reb Chaim Oliver has heard me talk about this subject, but it's important. So, how is Yare Boishes, fear and embarrassment? How does that mean tefillah, prayer, right? So let's go with Yira first. The word Yira. Yira means fear of Hashem. So there's basically, there's two ways that we can understand the concept of fear of Hashem. One is fear, like I'm afraid of something. I'm afraid. I'm actually afraid. Just like I would be afraid of lahavdil, of getting robbed, or of a wild animal or something like that. I'm afraid. Take a real regular fear. Okay, you with me? And then there's the other aspect of fear, which people usually like to talk about. Remember this, Reb Chaim? I go on a rant on this sometimes, but people usually like to talk about, which is what's called Yiras HaRomamus. It's awe, being in awe of Hashem. And you'll hear people saying things like, and this is good stuff, by the way, I'm not putting down such people, I say it also. We want to have the type of fear where we see Hashem and we see His greatness to such an extent, we're so blown away by Hashem and His creation and everything that happens, Neshkacha Pratis, and how he interacts with my life, and He created the whole, and the amazingness of the whole entire Bria, that I'm in awe. I'm totally struck by the amazingness of Hashem, right? And we can get this. We can all experience it to our own level at various different times, right? But and this is what we want. Where I think there's a mistake, just my humble opinion. I haven't heard other people saying this. This is my own humble opinion. Is that people forget about the other kind of fear, and think that I should just automatically be on that tremendous level of awe. It's not easy to always exist in that level of awe. There's another type of fear. There's like yiras ha'onish, fear of punishment, right? Sometimes we need to just be okay with saying, you know what, I'm not such a tzaddik. Maybe sometimes, certainly not always. I'm not always holding on that level. Sometimes I need a little bit of fear. You know what? How many people here have gone through a challenge? I'm not really asking because I know everyone will put their hands up. How many have experienced something difficult and painful in their path of avodas Hashem? Everyone's putting their hand up. Every single person, right? Okay, good. Sometimes there's a fear that can drive us in a very positive way, can drive our avodas Hashem, drive our desire for tshuva, drive our desire to get closer to Hashem, which is just Hashem. You know, the concept of a patch, right? Of a little, some good old-fashioned discipline. Kids not behaving, I know nobody does it anymore, right? I don't do it either. Just saying. Maybe sometimes a little smack is something that can get a person, that can discipline a child, get them back on the right track, right? And there's still a lot of people in the world, depending on where you come from, depending on, you know, if you're in Canada, which country did you emigrate from to Canada? So if you're from one of those old school countries, chances are your parents are still pretty tough, right? There's such a thing. So we understand that the Torah says, "Kasher yiyaser ish es benoi, Hashem elokecha miyasareka." Just the way that a father disciplines his son, yiyaser, that's the word for suffering, like, right? Inflicts punishment to his son. So too Hashem does this with us, in order to get us on the right track, right? So we understand, and we say, what do we always say about the dog and the stick? If you're experiencing a problem with somebody in the world and somebody's, you know, upsetting you, or you're upset by whatever the situation is, you don't get mad at the person. You say, that person is just a messenger of Hashem to me. What's the message that Hashem is giving to me? I'm listening to Hashem's message to me, right? Everybody agrees with me? Anyone want to fight about this? We're all on the same team here so far? Okay. Do you ever have the thought that, okay, I need to do tshuva because, you know what, Hashem, please, I don't want another patch. I don't want another painful challenge. I don't want to have to go through more of this stuff. Right? I want to be done with it, Hashem. I just want to be on the right path. I want to be moving close to you. And I want to hear the message already, so I don't have to be disciplined back into what's good for me. Right? Detention. They still give detention in school. No more strap, but they give detention, right? Maybe, I don't know. Probably not. So that's a little bit of yira. So there's two levels of yira. Okay, you with me? Yare boishes, yira and embarrassment. Fear and embarrassment is tefillah. However you want to understand yira, right? It's a recognition of Hashem. And it's a recognition that I want to be closer to Hashem. If it's yira, the yira of awe and amazement, it's like, wow, I want to be connected to Hashem all the time because He's totally super amazing. That's one level. Or it's Hashem, I don't want to be patched anymore. I just want to be on the path to get close to you, because I know I'm not doing the right thing. But whatever it is, I'm trying to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm trying to get closer to doing the right thing. So what happens when I see that that's where I want to be and I'm not there is I feel distance. I'm shown how I'm not where I could be. Either way, you understand yira. It means that I am not where I could be. I'm not the person that I should be or could be. I'm not as refined as I should be or could be. I haven't shed enough layers to get down to the real me as much as I should have. There's a long way for me to go. And the combination of those two things are what turn a person to tefillah, to prayer. That's when a person reaches out to Hashem and says, I need to be close to you. I need to figure out how to live my life in a way that I'm really achieving my potential. I'm taking off the layers of schmutz, and I'm getting closer to you. I'm close to the amazing, awesome nature of Hashem, whatever it is, right? That's why those two words, yare boishes, fear and embarrassment, are an aspect of tefillah, is what Rabbi Nachman's saying over here. Make sense? Yeah? Okay, Valkain. It's going to come up again, Yira. Let's hear. Valkain, Emuna Nikra Yerushalayim. Therefore, Emuna is called Yerushalayim. What does that mean? So, Yerushalayim is called I can't remember exactly where, but it's called Kirya Ne'amana, the city of Emunah, city of faith, the city of Emunah, Kirya Ne'amana. And it's called Yerushalayim, okay? Kanis Karleel, like we said before, Al Shem She'ikar Binyana Mi Bereshis. Why? Because the main building of Yerushalayim, of Emunah, comes from this concept of Bereshis, which is the high level, which is the second level of Nishma. Shubechinas Yira Shalem, which is an aspect of Yira, fear, Shalem, completeness and fear. Ki Taman Yira, Taman Shalem, because there, in that place, there's Yira in Yerushalayim, there's Yira, and there's Shlemus, there's Shalem, there's completeness. This is Yerushalayim. Bereshis, Yare Boishes, Maimar Shalem, which is Bereshis, which is Yare Boishes, these two things, Maimar Shalem, the whole package is there. By the way, interesting observation I'm going to say over here. We're saying that there's Yira in Yerushalayim, right? So when I was, this past summer, when we were in Yerushalayim, so we spent, I think, 9 nights in Yerushalayim, and then we spent 4 or 5 nights in the north, in Tzfas. And we had this wonderful, super duper awesome tour guide who is a big Talmud Chacham, and he deals with like interesting aspects of the Hebrew language. Anyway, his name is Dan Dan. He doesn't really speak English so much, but and so we were like doing a few things up there, going on like hikes in different places, whatever. And so I asked him, because we had just been in Yerushalayim for 9 days. I was like, is it safe? We have rented a car, and we're going to be driving different places in the north to go to like national park and go hiking there, and it's like an open area. Is it safe? So he said, I want to tell you something. You have to know that here in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim, there's a very, very specific type of energy. And anybody who's spent time over there knows that Yerushalayim is like intense, very like, it's heavy and intense, and it's like, you can almost use the word, you can see it, you could see Yira in Yerushalayim. You can feel Yira in Yerushalayim, right? But he said up here in Tzfas, it's very different. Up here in the north, there's Arab villages, and everybody kind of just leaves each other alone, and everybody's kind of laid back. It's a totally different experience, right? And of all the 4 cities of the 4 holy cities in Eretz Yisrael, right? So you have Hebron, which are the 4 cities of Yerushalayim. They correspond to the 4 elements. So the city of Hebron corresponds to earth, because that's the place where the Avos are buried, right? And Tiberia, of course, corresponds to water, because it's on the Kinneret, right? And Yerushalayim corresponds to fire, right? And you could feel it. It's intense. It's Yira. It's serious. The energies and emotions run hot in Yerushalayim, right? You experienced this, guys? Yeah. And of course,
Tzfas like that too.
Tzfas. What's Tzfas? Tzfas is ruach. It's air. It's spirit. It's wind. It's the place of Kabbalah. It's light. It's a different feeling. But this is the aspect of Yerushalayim that Yira is implanted there. But these 2 things, when you put these 2 things together, Yira and completeness, that's what leads a person to this aspect of Emunah. That's what builds Emunah. Okay? Yira and Shleimus and completeness build Emunah. So let's see. Ki Emunah hi meharoyim. Emunah comes from the shepherds. This whole Torah is about getting close to the tzaddik, getting close to tzaddikim. V'la'aroyim i'efshar lizkarev ki im al yedei azus. He's now giving us a great review of the whole pathway here. And it's only possible to come close to the shepherds, the tzaddikim, through azus, brazenness, stubbornness. Ula azus zoichin al yedei simcha. And we can only be a person who brazenly follows our path if we have simcha mixed in there, right? And to get simcha, we have to have nasav and ishma. We have to go from level to level. Has to be. Shubachinas Torah Tefillah, which is Torah Tefillah, all these different things that go from level to level. Ikar Shleimus Hasimcha Hu al yedei yira. Wild statement that we have to understand. The Iker Shleimus of Simcha, the main completeness of the idea of Simcha, of joy, is only through Yira. Can only be through Yira. Ki, like the pasuk says, Vigilu bira'ada ksiv. The pasuk says in Tehillim, I pulled it up over here. Pasuk says in Tehillim, Kapitel Beis, Ivdu es Hashem b'yira, serve Hashem with yira, with what? Fear. Vigilu bira'ada, and be joyful with trembling. Meaning what? The pasuk is telling us that real, true gila, real, true simcha, joy, you can only reach the full level of gila, of simcha and joy, when it's attached to yira. Has to be attached to yira, which is fear. Shehi bechinas nishma bechinas maimer shalem shesham ikar hashlevos, because that's the place of maimer shalem. That's the place where everything is complete and everything is on that high level. So it's those two things together. Nimsa sheikar binyan hamuna, the main way that hamuna is built. Shehi bechinas Yerushalayim, which is Yerushalayim, Kirya Ne'emana, the village of Emuna, the city of Emuna. Zoichin ayedei tefila. We merit that through tefila. Shu bechinas yira, bechinas maimar hashalem, which is yira and maimar shalem, fear and that complete maimar, the upper level, the higher connection. Valkei nikras ha'amuna Yerushalayim. That's why Emuna is called Yerushalayim. Shu yira shalem, because it comes from this place of yira shalem, of completeness and yira. Ki ikar binyana, because the main building of Emuna and Yerushalayim, al yedei bechinas yira, comes through yira. Shu bechinas maimar hashalem, which is the complete maimar, the higher full level. Shezehu bechinas bereshis, yare boishes. That's this aspect of bereshis, the word bereshis, which is the two words of yare boishes, fear and embarrassment. Shehu maimar hashalem, which is a full statement. Wait. So in other words, we can only get to this aspect of Emunah through tefillah, through the building of drawing down from that higher level. And remember, the corresponding levels of the lower level and the higher level of the internal one and the one that's above us is Torah and tefillah. Because tefillah is that thing where we reach up to something that's not clear. It's where we speak above ourselves, where it's hidden. It's not revealed to us. It's not written down. It's not something that we can sit and study. You with me? It's the expression of our inner hidden selves. Really, that's what tefillah is. V'zeh edus Hashem ne'amana, and this is what we say in the pasuk. Edus Hashem ne'amana, the statutes of Hashem are trustworthy, or emuna. Edus Hashem shehem ha'adayim. Adayim is a word for ornaments, and it refers to the crowns that we saw before of Nasav and Ishma. Remember when Klal Yisrael accepted the Torah, we got two crowns, one crown for Nasa and one crown for Nishma. Crowns, ornaments. Anal Ne'amana al yada, through it Nivnei Sa'amuna. It's through those two crowns of Nasav and Nishma that Emuna is built. There's one other thing, by the way, that we see that we didn't see so clearly over here, but in another Torah he says it. And that is that one of the ways that we build simcha. Why is it this concept of Nasav and Nishma that builds our simcha? And I can't remember where I saw this, but it's in one of the other Torahs. But it's that in order to have simcha, we need to have movement, right? We need to have movement. And we saw this recently, that movement in our intellect, movement in our inner selves creates spiritual heat. Yeah? And that warms us up. That gives us a fire of Avodas Hashem. We don't have, if we're not moving, we don't experience joy. Right? We have to be moving. So when a Jew is not standing still on the down elevator, remember that right? You're walking up the down elevator, you gotta be moving. To get going. You got to move fast, right? The faster we move, the more we feel a sense of joy, a sense of simcha, a sense of spiritual fire, because we're creating spiritual friction and heat as we move. But if we're not moving, we're not doing it. So the more we experience Nasav and Ishma, the more I say, you know what? I want to grab that level and pull it down, and I pull myself up to the next level, the more I feel simcha, the more I feel joy. And through that, I'm building this aspect. Remember, I can only have azus if I have simcha. And I can only, and I go from simcha to azus to the tzaddikim. That's how I get there. That's how the path goes. So, v'zeh, misham, roye, even Yisrael. So in Bereshis, Mem Tes, Pasuk says like this. One second. Pasuk says, I hope I got the right place marked over here. Yeah. It's by the bracha of Yosef. Yeah, here we go. Pasuk says, "V'tashev be'esan kashtoi," and his bow was firmly emplaced. Vayafoizu zoyrei yadav, and he one second. But his bow was firmly emplaced, and his arms were gilded. I don't know what these words mean, even in English. Abir Yaakov, from the Abir Yaakov, from the mighty power of Yaakov, his father. This is talking about Yosef. Misham roye even Yisrael. From that place, the shepherd, the stone of Israel. He shepherded the stone of Israel. So the shepherd is the tzaddik. This is talking about Yosef, a tzaddik, obviously. Who he became the one, it's saying over here in the simple understanding, who ended up actually shepherding his own father. He's the one who went down and became basically the provider of food to the entire world. And he made a place, he made the ability for the whole Klal Yisrael, all of the Bnei Yisrael, to come down and to be saved. And so after he got there, everyone realized, oh my gosh, the whole time it was part of Hashem's plan. The whole time, everything that happened was Hashgacha Pratis, to lead Yosef there. So then we could come down and be safe and have food and eventually have a Yetzias Mitzrayim and a Kabbalah Torah and all those important things, right? But what's wild over here is that he's called a shepherd, and in the same sentence, Even Yisrael, rock, Even of Yisrael. We just use this word Even because this is what the beginning of this Torah says in the Safed Tznusa. It's Even, Av Uben, Av Uben. Targumai, this is what the Targum Onkelos translates Even as over here. Even means stone, means rock. He translated it, he says, this word Even is made up of two words. Aleph Beis Nun. Aleph Beis is Av, father, and Beis Nun is Ben, son. Even is the compound, I guess, whatever, of these two words, Av Uben. And it's what Rabbi Nachman is saying over here is we're seeing a hint in this pasuk on a very deep level to when these two things are combined, Av Uben, that's when a person either becomes close to a roya, a tzaddik, right? And what blows my mind over here, he doesn't really explain it, but obviously it's what he means. It's totally amazing. Is that Yosef Tzaddik, he became the representation of the concept of the lower level kind of becoming the upper level, right? Because he's the one, he's the son of Yaakov. Yaakov's supposed to be the big tzaddik. He's supposed to be the leader, the sort of father figure, right? But what happened? He became almost unable to do what he needed to do in a certain way. He became ineffective. He lost his ability to have prophecy. He was sad. Things weren't going well. He said, the last years of my life were he said, when he met Paro, he said, my life has been terrible, right? Yosef HaTzadik went down and became the leader, became the tzaddik, took care of all of Klal Yisrael, right? And it became that Yosef is the essential Yerusha of Yaakov. He's the main offspring, Tolda, of Yaakov Avinu. How do we see this? In Parshas Toldos, right? It says, not Parshas, when it talks about the Toldos of Yaakov, it says, Ele Toldos Yaakov, Yosef. Ele Toldos Yaakov, Yosef. And everybody asks, it says, Ele Toldos Yaakov, Yosef Hayav Mitzrayim. Why does it say Ele Toldos Yaakov? It should just say then, these are the offspring of Yaakov, and then list them. But it doesn't say that. It says Ele Toldos Yaakov, Yosef. And that's it. Why? All the Mefarshim say, because Yosef, was the main channel of the power of Yaakov in the world. He's the one who became the main, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the next guy. What's it? What am I? The continuance. Heir.
Kin.
The heir. The what?
The kin.
Maybe, yeah. The of Yaakov. And so that's what we see. Eli told us Yaakov Yosef. And it also says that he had the same face as his father. He looked like him. Same thing with Avram Avinu and Yitzchak as well. But why is that so amazing? Like, we've all heard that before, right? Great idea, very nice. But over here you see that Ben became the Av. He did this. He took that level that he was on, and of Chatzi Maimar, of half statement, of hidden, or of all the lower level things, of Ben, son, and took it up to the next level of father, and of the full picture, and Bereshis, full statement, the full understanding, the deepness and everything, Shleimus, and he stuck them together and became Evan, became of Uben together. Did you ever wonder why the Targum translates Evan as Av Uben? Like, why does he bring that up there? Okay, you could say he's saying something similar, that the pasuk is talking about the power of Yaakov and Yosef, and how Evan. Why was it called Evan? Because Av and Ben. Okay, fine, but you see, it's much deeper than that. Tremendous idea. He's the one who exemplifies this idea. Awesome. This is what's called Maimar Shalem. This is the complete statement. When it's Av Uben Kachada, father and son are one. Because the half statement of the lower level is the son on his own. Aval Maimar Hashalem hu Av Uben Kachada, but the full statement, the higher level, is father and son as one. Kisham Nichlal Kol. That's where everything is included, is encompassed. That's how we can come to this aspect of Royim, shepherds, tzaddikim. Misham Roya Evan Yisrael. That's why it said Misham, from this place. Roya, you want to get to Roya? How do you do it? Evan. You got to get Evan Yisrael. That's going to take you to this place. The absolute epitome of achieving the higher level, right? And as we said, it's achieving that higher level that's going to bring us to Simcha, that's going to bring us to Azus, that's going to then take us to either to be a tzaddik or to be close to the tzaddik, right? And that's where we're going.
But then Yitzchak Avinu looking and becoming like Avram Avinu.
What?
Yitzchak was the same as Yitzchak was the same as Avram.
The look.
They looked
the face, yeah, they looked like also. Yeah. It's probably the same thing. Yeah. 100%. Okay, let's do a tiny bit more. So we got to get through this eventually, before many months pass. Kasheroitzim lotzes madrega naisa v'nishma. Zela madrega naisa. Okay, we're now going to come into another an important fact of life. That once again, I would ask us to put all our hands up if you've experienced such a thing, but I know that everybody has. So wait till you hear it, and you'll tell me. If you want to be going from the current nasa v'nishma that you're at, that means the current place where I am, and I've internalized that level, and I'm holding on that level, and there's a level above me that I don't quite have yet, and I want to change that. I want to have that the next level is internalized, and there's a new level above me, right? If I want to move, hop up in levels, what has to happen first? Tzarech liyos yerida koidem aliyah. Has to be that there's going to be a yerida. There's going to be a descent before the ascent. You can't just keep going straight up. There's going to have to first be a descent. Ki hayerida, if you ever wanted to see where it was written in the words clearly of Rabbi Nachman, ki hayerida hi tachlis ha'aliyah. Because the yerida is only for the purpose of aliyah. The descent is only there for the purpose of the ascent. Like Chazal say in the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, statement that we've said many times to teach different things, really, but here also. David HaMelech. Really, he was not fitting, it wasn't proper for him, it wasn't him, essentially, says the Gemara, who did this Aveira of getting together with Bathsheba in the wrong time, when it wasn't the right time yet. He didn't do it, essentially, the Gemara says. Ella, sorry. And secondly, Yisrael, the Jewish people, by the Chet HaEgel, were also not. They would never have done such a thing. It wasn't normal. But Hashem made this happen. They didn't do it. Ella, Shenosan Hashem Yisparach lehem, Michshol L'Toivas HaOlam. Hashem gave them a stumble, a stumbling block to fall on for the betterment of the world. It wasn't really meant for them, is what they're saying. But they had to experience such a yerida in order that there should be an aliyah. And then over here, it wasn't even necessarily personally for them. It was also. But like Chazal say, lahoros teshuva. The Gemara says over there very clearly that the whole purpose of those two events was to teach the concept of teshuva to Klal Yisrael. Right? So, let me ask you this. Everyone here has experienced such a thing, no question. That you've had to go have a yerida first before you make an aliyah. Right? Maybe some of us are right now in an aliyah. Maybe some of us right now are in a yerida. For sure. Things go up. I see a hand goes up, but which one? Aliyah or yerida? It could be right? But it happens. It happens to us. So let me ask you this also. Have you ever thought, why do I have to go through this yerida? It's not fair, or it doesn't feel like it's part of an ascent at all, right? I just feel low, Just remember that Klal Yisrael made the Chet HaEgel, and they sort of didn't really do it. It had to happen for an extremely important point for the entire universe, for all of creation. It was there for something super duper important that had to happen. David HaMelech he wasn't shaykh to such a thing. He would never do such a thing. But it had to happen and needed to happen. And he didn't know that. David HaMelech did tshuva for this. We all had to do tshuva. David HaMelech behaved as if he did it. Because that's all he could do. We don't know what we're experiencing. We don't know why. But the Gemara is telling us, and Rabbi Nachman is telling us over here, that when we're in that yerida, there's something super, super important about it. It's absolutely necessary. Not only that, if you're a Lost Princess person, not only that, it's not just that it's a mountain you have to climb, and at the end you're going to realize that there's some gold in that mountain. Really, it's exactly perfect. It's just the way it's supposed to be. It's exactly what you need. And if you could look at yourself back from the future with that tremendous retrospect, you'd be like, oh man, I remember when I had to go through that. And that was like exactly, that's what was building me. That's exactly what I needed. It was like the perfect thing for me. Everything was amazing, right? From upstairs and from the end, the look back is very different from when we're in the middle of it. But Yerida Tachlis Aliyah, this we have to go through. So I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy and get over it. A little bit I'm saying that, but not completely. Just remember, all these things that Rabbi Nachman gives us, they're all tools to help us on our journey, to help us in our path. We're not always going to just be like, oh, I heard the answer now, everything's going to be fine for the rest of my life. No, but you know what? It's giving me a little more perspective. Someone said in the chat earlier, Moichin de Katnis versus Moichin de Gadlus. That means constricted consciousness versus expanded consciousness. The more that I take the time to learn this holy Torah, the more that I take time to put it into practice, to talk about it with each other, talk about it with Hashem and His Bodhidus. What am I doing? I'm bringing that into my consciousness. I'm expanding my consciousness and my perspective so that I can see things in a different way. And that really does help. It really does work. and it enables me to be in a situation when I'm in such a yerida that I don't have to stay there for so long. Usually the first time a person finds themselves really trying in Avodas Hashem, they go into a yerida for a long time. Because it's like the first time. And they don't quite get yet what's going on. And because they're making such a step, right? This whole distance that Hashem shows is because He's grabbing them and making something amazing happen. He's giving them such an ability to break down the barriers and to let go of the stupid stuff that they couldn't let go of unless they were broken down. Right? Letting go of stupid stuff. We just had this amazing Tu B'Shvat Seder, where sort of a Kabbalistically oriented, but really personal growth and journey oriented Tu B'Shvat Seder. And one of the things was with the different types of fruit, one of the things you're supposed to take is a fruit that has a peel. And when you're peeling the fruit that you're going to eat at this Seder, you have to see yourself in the place where there's blockages. The fruit is really amazing and delicious and sweet and awesome, but there's something I got to break through first. And the same thing with we eat like a fruit or an olive or a peach or something that has a pit in it. And you realize that there's a lot of good stuff there, but also on the inside, there's some bad stuff. And one of the kavanas that we have to have at such a thing is that I just have to be ready, willing to try to let it go. Because those things sometimes are really hard to let go of. We think that why do I have to have these struggles, and why do I have to struggle with food and with electronic entertainment and laziness and like, I don't know, other things, whatever people do. Why do I have to struggle with these things? I wish I was free of them, right? But it's not so easy to let go of them. Like, they're part of us, and it's a strong pull. And in a sense, that comforts us to, they call it comfort food, right? It's called that for a reason. Because we have a strong connection to it. But we have to not only decide that we see that that's wrong, and I wish I wasn't doing that, but one of the things that I have to work on, that I have to think about, talk to Hashem about, and really try to make a part of my life is being ready to let go. I'm gonna let go. All these things that we do are what enable us to do that. You can't do it on your own. We have to learn, we have to study, we have to daven, we have to have Shabbos, Kabbalah Shabbos, and learning, and mitzvahs, and chaverim. Everything that we do together all builds the kelim, the weapons, the tools that we have to be able to accomplish these things, right? And that's our only hope. Yeah, okay, we're going to stop there because it's an hour and the next piece is a little bit... Okay, everybody, have a great night. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.